And then they're going to show up and like, we're here.
Just don't listen to the first few minutes.
Yeah. So, first thing we're going to be using is thermal imaging. Why would we want thermal imaging inside of a ghost hunt?
Because ghosts are a different temperature than people are.
How so?
We're warm blooded.
Exactly. We're looking for cold spots, guys. The literal cold spots. So that's the whole point of this camera. This is a FLIR. This is what firemen would use to actually help save people. So it's not a phone app you can download. And the cool thing is you guys can all see me in there, right? Red, orange, and yellow guy. So normally I make the joke that I'm the hottest thing inside the picture, but I think we have more guys in here, or it's a nice, well-balanced, that joke's not really going to work well. I'm not going to get beat up after our experience together. I get bridal parties all the time. You can imagine how that goes over. So with that, I'm pointing out that we're looking for blue and black. So I'm red, orange, and yellow. It's set up to black, cold, white, hot. That's the way it's set up. The other cool thing about your video that you're going to get back is that there's a blue dot that's bouncing around the screen right now. That blue dot is there to help define the coldest spot in the frame at that moment. So, are you James? You made it. Where's the rest of your pack? All right, cool. So you might as well fall in line. So let's kind of get you're just in time for the introduction of the devices.
Perfect.
So look at you. So that blue dot, again, I'm not always looking for like, oh my God, it was 5 degrees colder than the ambient temperature, 15 degrees or more. That's what we're looking for out of this particular, device. So once I actually hand this off to Neil, I will go through introductions, and hopefully the rest of their party will show up, so that way I know who I actually have. We'll see whose name I actually remember, including Liz's, because she's the one I'm going to forget all night long. Neil, everybody handles this guy one-handed. Do not handle it by the camera. It will pop out. Whenever I give you the starts and stops on this guy, because again, we're going to do a few stops, because as great as this hardware is, the software sucks. If we record for too long, we lose footage. So I'll kind of give all the cameras the cues to start and stop. Tonight, well, there's only 3 vehicles in here, and by the way, congratulations, you made it to a parking lot. So this is what you guys signed up for. So I like to make that joke because people come here like, what the hell are we doing? What did we sign up for? This guy's weird. But anyway, so this place used to be something, but to all the communication device folks, I'm going to kind of give you a heads up now. This is where I start withholding information, and I'm not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes. So what is this place? This used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion sat in the front facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with 5 Church Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters back here. I'd like to give you a layout first before we really dive in. So who are these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks, in case you lost count. That's why we look for secondary clues, people. I need to know which Charles is actually trying to come through, if that makes sense. So the reason I bring all 3 of these guys up is because the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a big deal for us, but I hate politics, and we're going to move on. If I don't bring it up, they normally do it through a spirit box for me, very angrily. Like, hey, you forgot to recognize us. So let's talk about Eliza. I know we're past Women's History Month, but we're going to talk about her anyway. So Eliza Pinckney, very important lady. She married Charles at a young age, according to today's standards. For all of you spirit box people, if you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, don't expect numbers from the colonial times that she came from, of like 12 and 14. Think of today's standards. And I bring that up is because her husband was over double her age when they married. So again, creepy age gap in the 1700s, definitely a creepy age gap now. So she married him because her father was over in England, and he thought he was dying. He's trying to bring all of his children home one last time so he can see them. Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she got married instead to the man she fell in love with. It was 1744. You don't get married in that year to get a green card. We're not a country yet. So again, she married this guy out of love, and it was a true love story, so don't poke the bear. And she was right. Dad didn't die right away. Instead, as apologetically, he starts sending her gifts from England to where we're standing. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. If you've been in town for at least a day, you've seen the word indigo somewhere. I guarantee it. You're in Charleston. However, what is indigo? It's a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Some of you are wearing it tonight because that's how we make them today. But Eliza didn't know what to do with the seeds when she got them. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not 1,000 degrees down here all the time, just in the middle of July. So once she figured out how to, cultivate it and make the dye, she moves it to a cash crop and then got a hold of her dad and said, rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with this indigo. And we now have an international businesswoman during colonial times, something absolutely unheard of. So a very big deal about this lady. Now that's the boring shit about Eliza. Let's get into the crazy stuff, because that's why you guys are all here. I will also tell you, just up front, kind of a disclaimer, I was looking to retire this space. I change this route up every year just because I get a lot of repeat ghost hunters wanting to come see me, because every night's different. But at the same time, this space I was going to be retiring it because I was getting very disrespectful ghost hunters, meaning you guys, like, yo, what's up, Eliza, kind of mentality. Very disrespectful to this young lady. So please be respectful when we're here. We will do, this is going to be a lot shorter than what I normally make it since what I did last year, just because I promised her that I was going to bring respectful people and we would be here at a brief time to move on to the next phase. So what's going to happen is I'm going to give the communication people a series of questions, and I'll go through all of you one by one based on the device that you have, and then we're all going to spread out. I'm going to have to keep Logan behind so I can show him how to use that thing a little bit further, and then I'm going to be bouncing around like one good round robin with everybody, writing down notes, and then I'll bring us back here to give you all of the answers. So let's kind of go through it. Drop that thing out of your ear for me. So with yours, and where are we at? Michelle has the same device, perfect, so same style. The two of you, because your devices don't give as much as the other ones, because it takes out some of the static, I'm going to go after very simple questions. Where's the mansion? Basically, like, what happened to it? It's obviously a tragedy because it's not here anymore. And then, when did that happen? So you're looking for a date or numbers. So if that kind of looks, kind of wait for it to happen. And by the way, all of you Spirit Box people, don't always look for just what you're asking about. Again, remember that we have probably 10 pieces of communication out here. You might be asking a question, and the answer can be coming to my voice recorder or the audio from another camera. You guys get the point. It can go anywhere. So that's why I want you to tell me all of the silly things. It's not always about a direct answer. So again, that's why we use so much communication. With yours, Liz, yes, it took me a minute again. Why? But with yours, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. Kind of a jerk move, right? So first wife also had a maiden name that started with the letter L, as does the one we just spoke about. Figure out which Eliza we're dealing with, but also go after the marriage question, how old she was when she got married. So those are going to be your focus questions. I'm going to give you the good ones. Are you ready? Because you've been so interested in the Spirit Box, I want to see how you do. Okay. Eliza's death. So you can ask anything you want to. She's pretty open. How old she was, what did she die from, where she's buried, what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Okay. Like very specific. Obviously, you guys are seeing these are not yes/no questions, right? So that's kind of the gist of how we're going to work. With yours, we're looking for Eliza's initials, ELP, in that order. I don't want an anagram of it. We have gotten an anagram of Eliza's name. So again, all the letters were there jumbled with one interference. So it was EULZIA. So it looked like Yulzia. So it's all the letters of her name with one piece of interference, which is EMF. It's going to happen. So I was pretty stoked about that. But we have gotten her ELP here in the past. So kind of keep that in mind. You've already got your questions. With yours, you're going to tread lightly, please. The children. I'm not doing this because you're pregnant, I promise. So it just kind of landed on you. So, but this is where things can get a little hairy. Okay. You're going to have 2 questions and that's it. Okay. How many children? Names. That's it. The reason why, there's a tragedy there. So don't poke the bear. We're all going to know it's you. Yeah. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if we start getting the same number of, like, the wrong number of children, like a lesser amount, I'm going to know that somebody poked the bear. Don't poke the bear. You guys get the point. So if we ask her and she gives me a different number constantly, and I know what that number is because it's 1 less, she's basically saying, shut up, I don't want to talk about it. So you guys are getting the point of this, right? When you're asking your questions, you can either focus on it however you guys are comfortable. So it doesn't always have to be an out loud thing. You can if you want to. But again, everybody does this a little bit differently. Did you tap your record button? It doesn't look like you're recording yet.
I stopped.
Okay, so you can go ahead and continue. But yeah, we're going to spread out. Don't go near the vehicles at all. These cars belong to employees that work down here, so sometimes they take naps in there and scare the bejesus out of you. You guys get the point. EMF spikes, we're going to talk about those before we close. But again, this baseline here is going to be 2.5. I don't want to know, like if you get a 2.5, then a 5, then back down to 3. I don't want to know the 3. Keep moving the baselines up. So Brandon, that kind of goes for yours too. So just keep moving the baseline up. Have you gotten any numbers at all yet?
Yeah, it's in around 2. Okay. It has spiked up to 7.
7. So 7's our new base. Don't tell me anything below 7. Right. Average spike for your device in this location is between 18 and 22.
22 is right there.
I can't make this stuff up, guys. I promise you. I'm not making things go off. You guys have seen my hands, right? So I'm not a magician. So Logan, stay with me. Liam, go ahead and get your record button started if you haven't already. Other word of note. So Angela and Liam, the two of you cannot face each other. The reason why, your camera can see his LiDAR technology, and it's nothing but flashes. So again, it's very distracting when I'm trying to watch the video. The guy with epilepsy. You guys get it, right?
32.
32. Holy mackerel. Yeah. So is anybody hearing anything, by the way, with these kind of high EMS spikes going on? 22 and 32?
Like not yet.
And You have nothing at all. Nothing above
67.
See, James, you show up late and you're the only one that's gotten anything so far.
You hear me say 67?
I did hear the 67. That's awesome. Like, I'm excited already. This is me excited, in case you guys know. So I'm not possessed by a demon. I'm not Zach Bagans. You guys get the gist, right?
83.
83. Look around, guys. Anybody see any wires near James? Like, you got like a... Like, look how far away they are. He's not getting a reading from those.
Okay. Well, I didn't know how far away.
Like, it's got to be pretty close range.
It does.
Very close range. I'm stoked. The only thing you need to let me know is when it starts getting like above 150. Like seriously, like for me, like on a safety level.
All right.
So I'm gonna do my round robin, and again, just give me all the above 25s. But if it reaches like 150, you gotta let me know.
Everything over 25?
Anything over 25.
That's a lot. All right.
It could be, but it cannot be. So, but the 150 is kind of like we need to watch for safety levels. I'll talk more about those. All right, Logan, stay behind. Where did he go? All right, perfect. Everybody else, let's spread out. I'll bounce around with you guys in just a moment. All right.
I've got to keep somebody in the frame at all times. I've got Haley.
What's your last name? Miss Eliza, how old were you when you got married? You see anything?
Nothing yet.
Have you asked your questions here? The questions he told you to ask, did you ask them yet? So you forgot the questions? Do you remember what her questions were? What were her questions?
I don't remember.
Blinding lights by the weekend.
Alice. It's not Eliza, but it's close.
And imagine I just hit 22 at Taylor Swift.
So you heard 22?
No,
Oh,
I'm
you
just
heard
saying
the song. Oh, imagine.
I've heard Taylor Swift songs.
Miss Eliza, how old were you when you got married? That's therefore.
Oh, I'm not good at English.
Cars are the coldest thing.
Ask her more. Ask more.
I've asked the same question already a few times.
No, but ask her more questions.
What was the husband was named Charles?
What?
The husband was named Charles.
You're not getting anything on the camera?
Dark spots on the ground.
What do you got, Haley? Anything? Nothing yet? And anything crazy on your word list?
Alice came up when I asked.
Alice showed up here last night, but there's really no tie to that.
Yeah.
I like March. Whenever a month shows up, like I'm usually happy about that.
That's when we were walking here.
Yeah.
So I thought it was funny that we're walking and it's a
We're marching.
Yeah.
Got it. But I look at it as a month.
That's the
So-
only thing I love.
See? Now you got something. But yeah, those are the kinds of weird phrases I want you to listen for. Only thing I love. But again, I'm looking for very specific things. Alright, so
coldest things are metal.
What?
I said the coldest things are metal,
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
like cars or the gate, the wrought iron fence, the dumpster.
Miss Eliza, how old were you when you got married?
I heard this girl was on fire.
What happened to the mansion? This girl was
Did
on
it
fire.
burn in a fire?
Should I tell her?
Most likely.
Yeah.
Okay, come with me.
Was he talking to someone?
I heard the song playing. I heard the
Where is the mansion?
I heard this girl's on fire playing.
This girl's on fire.
Uh-huh.
Could be a clue.
Fire since she left there. I heard real cool.
Eliza, when and where did you die?
What do you got?
Eliza, was your death painful?
She doesn't like fire.
By all means, try.
Well, smoke is thereabouts. So that's what happened. So you have your direct answer. So now you're looking for tea.
Oh, I got his other name.
What's that?
Alexander.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Doesn't mean it's not relevant.
Nope.
Just means I don't know who the hell it is. That's all it means.
She could be around here somewhere.
She could be.
Eliza, how did you die? I know.
See anything?
Haven't yet.
Do you need people?
No anomalies yet.
This is cool. Oh, this.
Oh,
Are those hunting too?
yep.
I just heard lives of children. I just heard lives of children.
guy came up here at the next stop last night. You're getting your things. Eliza children?
The lives. The lives.
Oh, the lives of children. I'm sorry, what was the thing that you heard?
Jeremiah.
I knew there was something else on this. Interesting. So we got a couple of things going on. Obviously, I'm very excited about the EMF readings that we got. That was going. I mean, I told him his new baseline was 50. So the first thing I want to do is I want to explain what these EMF readings actually mean based on things around your house. But I'm going to take a drink because you guys really got me talking a lot tonight, bouncing around this much. So it's a good thing. So if I don't have a voice by the end of the night, we probably had a great night, right? So that does happen. But anyway, so electricity in the air. Again, you guys looked at the wires around us. They're a little too far away. They have to be in close range. Brandon, did you get anything playing around with those?
No, nothing over like 2.
Okay. So again, I don't. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is like, how is his measuring versus like what I'm lacking from the different ones? But
the dog's ears.
If you put James's device behind your TV, it'll read about 40 to 60 milligauss. We had probably an average of about a 50 to 60 milligauss based on the readings that he gave me in here. So it's giving off enough electricity in here tonight to charge your TV. Your microwave runs on about 150 to 170 when it's running and heating up your food. So again, that kind of gives you a baseline of what your things do around your house. The highest I've ever seen that device go that James is holding is 214, and it's been in this location. We left. Again, guy with seizures, we're out of here. I'm not playing around with it. Too much for a neurological disorder. Just not going to play around with it at all. I have seen it go pretty close to 200 in other spaces, including the St. Augustine Lighthouse, so that went up to 197. That was kind of crazy, inside of a house where it shouldn't have been 197. It's kind of nuts. Again, I should have left the room, but I didn't. Kept staying there and I ended up with a headache. But at any rate, so again, we had some really good readings coming out of James's device, so I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about 2 people hearing fire right around the same time. So we're going to go through the answers, and all of this is going to start to make sense as we kind of go through this. So with people nearby, you might want to lower that camera. Andy's coming. Sorry, told you, I'm a bad dad with the
That's
cameras.
right.
All right, so anything crazy coming out of that now that you hear it going off? Okay, again, not the most exciting device, but when it does go off, it is a holy shit moment. So it's not a drop it and run, but it is like, oh wow, we did get the initials, very cool. Or I have this spelling.
I just heard from this thing, we're down.
We're down?
We're done.
Oh, we're not done yet. Eliza knows that.
I've got a few words from when I was walking around.
What'd you get?
I got cheap trick,
Okay.
jump, rain, and 1-2.
Yeah, I got nothing. What's funny is you guys didn't get any bleed over from Big John's over here, although we did get the word red that came out of Michelle's device. So that's what I call bleed over. So we could have gotten Pinckney things while we were over at Big John's, and Big John's stuff could have came over here. Even though they're from different centuries, again, I've seen bleed over a lot. And again, one of the next space we go to is determined based on the bleed over. So we're going to talk more about that once we get there. But let's talk about the answers from this location. Whenever I break out the tablet, it's to kind of bring everything to light. You don't need to huddle around. I'll go around the room so everybody can see. This is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. Notice I used her maiden name of Lucas. Again, second wife named Eliza. The first wife was Eliza Lamb Pinckney. So, somebody know that? Oh. So Eliza Lamb Pinckney was the first wife. This wife, the one we just talked about, married Charles at the age of 22. He was 45. So a creepy age gap them.
Oh, you didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. I thought it.
So kind of a creepy age gap for me because I'm close to Charles's age, and my oldest daughter is Eliza's age at that point in time. So definitely creepy to me. So everybody was asking, I at least had 2 people asking about what happened to the mansion. This is the only photograph we have of where you're standing, where the mansion stood. This is fire damage from the Great Fire of 1861. Somebody heard "this girl is on fire," and another person heard the word fire itself around the same time. The cool thing about this whole thing is it's a great example of "this girl is on fire." You guys' spirit boxes are slowed down. What color is the big red barn? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. I don't need Rudolph the nosed reindeer. In this case, I don't need "this girl is," right? So I just need "on fire." That's the only thing I'm looking for out of it. That's why they're slowed down. when we do get terms like fire, burning, blaze, which we've already gotten, that just means we missed the digits of the date. This happened on December 11th of 1861. So we will get 12, 11, 61, a combination of 2 or 3 of those numbers at the same time. We've had the full date even occur at the same night as fire, burning, blaze showing up, just so you know. Every tour in town, if you haven't been on one, will tell you about a great fire we've had, because we've had dozens. That's just the way, that's why we have so much death and depravity here. So this is a map of Charleston. This is the fire that took out the Pinckney Mansion. Literally went from one side of our peninsula to the other. It was that large. This was $5 to $9 million worth of damage. So I just kind of like to point this out, and I get the question all the time is, if the fire was that big and strong, why didn't the mansion burn all the way to the ground? Well, it was made of more material than just wood, because the Pinckneys had money. Most of them were politicians. So kind of keep that in mind. We're also outside the original Charlestown walls as well. So that kind of makes that point. We had the questions about the kids. So that was you, right, Lori? Sorry, Lori Jones. Got to do my evil voice for that. But anyway, so the children, there were 4 of them. We're going to go through them very briefly, just so you know what I'm looking for when I find their names in the morning. Charles, you already know about, signer of the Constitution. Thomas is the next one I bring up. He fought in a Revolutionary War battle. He was shot in the left leg during the Battle of Camden and captured by the British. So after he was released from the British, he was left on a cane the rest of his days. Any portrait you'll find of Thomas is of his right side to hide his left leg with a cane over his lap. So those are the kinds of clues that I get out of him. Baby George is the next one that I bring up, and this is the one we don't poke the bear with. Baby George is obviously, he didn't make it. In June of 1747, he was born. Same month, he died. We don't know if he was days old or if he was weeks old. It's a great possibility he was weeks old, only because he was named. You don't name a baby in the 1700s unless they're christened, which takes a few weeks. So that's my guess. George does not have a headstone or a grave. Here's my theory. Look at all of you with the stone faces. I love this. You guys are so in tune right now. My theory is that baby George doesn't have a headstone because they would have mummified the baby and kept him right here in the home, in a tomb, waiting for the mother to pass away so he could be buried with her. So kind of a creepy thought, and don't go home and Google mummied baby, by the way, and not expect a phone call from the government. So again, it's just one of those pieces. This was a religious practice, so that's where I found the information, and it was actually brought up by one of my guests one night. So they said, maybe it's a possibility of this, and I dove into it, and I said, that's a great possibility. So it's going to get even more creepy when we talk about Eliza's death and where she's at. So let's get into the last child. Her name was Harriet. She's the only daughter. So she married Daniel Ory. Why is that important? Because, bless you. Ory County is Myrtle Beach area. That's 2.5 hours north of here. So that kind of gives you an idea of where she lived. Wouldn't have been a 2.5 hour car ride for Eliza. No cars. So lots of letter writing instead. Quilt, ink, paper, published. Those kind of things will pop up when Harriet's here. Very seldom, maybe once or twice a year at best. Because again, you're going to find hauntings of her up there. Eliza's death. I do want to get us away from that car. Looks like she's trying to back out. So this is the only exit, by the way. I want to make sure she has enough room. Again, it's at night, and we don't know who's been drinking, right? So Eliza's death. Who had those questions? Ryan, those were yours, right? So have I screwed up anybody's name, by the way? Have I gotten you all down pretty good?
Melissa.
I keep calling you Michelle, don't I?
Yeah. But it happens a lot, so I never say anything.
And you know what's funny?
I just go with it.
Anyway, we'll talk about it later. But anyway, Eliza's death. So Eliza was 70 years old when she passed away. First off, I'd like to point out for the youngsters in the group, that's a long time for a colonial woman to be alive.
Yeah.
She died in 1793. So 93 is the number that shows up here often as well. She was going to Philadelphia, getting treatments, whatever they thought she had. It turned out to be breast cancer. We didn't know what the hell breast cancer was in 1793. We're going based off her medical records now. So, she died in Philly, she's buried in Philly. That should raise 2 questions in the back of your brain. First off, baby George. If my theory's true, they would have transported that tomb with the mummy baby in it all the way to Philly from here by horse and carriage. That's a long trek. A lot of you look old enough to remember the game Oregon Trail. Somebody's getting dysentery on that trip. So it's a good joke. Make sure you're paying attention. Now the other piece is if she's buried in Philadelphia, what the hell are we doing here? I don't take you to actual cemeteries. Minimal activity at best. It's not a regular thing. None of you are going to hang out near your grave and stare at it while you're gone anyway. You're going to go to your mansions 400 miles away, which is exactly why I bring you to spaces like this where the other tours don't go. Again, there's nothing for them to see. Watching the people get pissed off because we're filming their cars. You guys get the point. Who wants to take a guess at who the president was that was the pallbearer at Eliza's funeral? 1793.
Wow.
It's a good thing you can't answer. James is looking at me like, I got this
I'm
one.
not even going to throw this out. No.
Go ahead.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I was like, what are the atoms? The second atom?
Washington.
Washington. Oh.
No.
Yeah, big surprise, right? So at his own request, he wanted to pay homage to Eliza for her indigo. That helped get our country started. So it's a pretty big deal. Now, here's a good thing of why I'm excited that you couldn't answer. When we got here, I told you all, I'm not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse? Putting George Washington subliminally in the back of all of your brains on purpose. Waiting to see who's going to give me the answer in the field. Notice I gave you all the answers from the tablet and everything else, and that's the only question I gave you to see if you could give it back to me. You all passed with a fail. Good job. So that's kind of that's the only word trick I get. And again, you guys all did really well with that. So some people will do it by deductive reasoning and realize, like, you know, he wasn't actually the president at the time, because I don't say the current president at that time. I just say the president. So she's like, yeah, you got me. I seen that look. But at any rate, you did very well. So we have a lot of things going on. You can definitely, you know, give yourself a break with that. Hit that stop button on your camera, Neil. Because again, people. But Angela. So, or I'm sorry, Angela and Liam just don't face each other. So basically, you two need to be pointed in opposite directions, so that way she's not picking up your LiDAR technology. She can see it, and it blinds us. So just don't flash anything at her. And she's already faced the other way, so perfect. Anything crazy on the little Ouija board there, Logan?
No, not really. Just heave is the only word I can read right now.
Heave?
Yeah, H-E-E, which is how it's spelled.
It's not, but we have the phonetic part of it.
Like
yeah.
that's kind of like a pirate thing, but
Like heave ho?
yeah.
I get it.
Nothing really special.
Well, I am also thinking of like heaving, like somebody throwing up and being sick. So that would be my terminology for that. But anyway, so you guys are getting really good at this, so that's really good. So I appreciate the numbers and you know, they're really into the motion. For those of you with EMF detectors, so Brandon and James, we're looking for anything above like a 6 or 7. We do have lamp posts near us, so you're going to get little small spikes of steady 4 to 5s. So I'm really looking for above the 6 to 7s, if that makes sense. So again, the deal is with this location here, Brandon, I really want you to toggle that thing and kind of see if you get any kind of readings out of it at all. Even with the VMs that I said don't play with those, I might have to dive into it just to make sure. So, where are we? We're in Philadelphia Alley. This used to be called Dueler's Alley. Yep. This is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. Yeah, that's always fun to talk about death, right? So let's kind of get into this because every ghost tour comes down here. It's kind of a staple for every ghost tour, and that's why I say we're going to split the seas and let them do their thing. But I'm going to tell you the story a little bit differently because you're ghost hunting. You need more details than just the campfire marshmallow ghost story, even though you all are seated like you're ready for the campfire. So here's how this goes. A doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. All of you Spirit Box folk, if you hear the song Brown Eyed Girl, it is not coincidence. It is part of the doctor's name. So it does happen a lot down here. You're getting the point of that. She's like, okay, I get it. So at any rate, he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money. So he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. He comes down here to Charleston to prove that he's not after Amanda's money. And the coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a good start to his stay in Charleston, just so you know. Somebody was walking by, though. He was local, somewhat. He's not from here, but he lived here a while. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop there because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. We were getting the letters R.I. all the time on these red spirit boxes, so I decided I'm going to get the Ouija board device to see if we can get it here. You're looking for the initials R.I. here. However, 2 different characters, we'll need a secondary clue so we know who it belongs to, just so you guys know. Anyway, back to Ralph. He tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy. He's going to try to kill you. Come with me. I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there, rent a room, and you'll be safe. The doctor took him up on the offer. They became friends. The longer the doctor stays here in Charleston, the more money he's making. He's proving his point that he's not after Amanda's cash. So, Amanda gets wind of this, that he's making his own money, and she's coming down so they can get married. Dr. Ladd became known as the Whistling Doctor. I'm going to stop there again because every haunted city you're ever going to visit has a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. So just kind of keep in mind, there's proof of this one. But we're going to talk about that later on. Dr. Ladd and Ralph go see plays together. I'm getting ready to go into the duel, just so you know. They go see plays, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's the hierarchy of Charleston. He gets better seats. They talk about the plays on the way home. They're arguing over an actress one night after seeing Richard III. Doctor thought she was great. Ralph did not. The argument turns into Ralph insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It's very ugly, and they go their separate ways. Told you Ralph had a lot of friends here. He goes to the newspaper, puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society, sir, kind of mentality. Doctor saw the ad, but rebutted with, let's just go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this, and somebody's going to die. over an argument over an actress, by the way. That's how it all started. So they came down, they took her 10 paces, they turned, the doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened at a duel, by the way. But Ralph, he had his one shot, and he put it in the kneecap on the doctor. Dr. Ladd didn't die, but he fell to the ground. Ralph proved his point that he's not willing to forgive, and he's still pissed off. So the doctor's friends picked him up, took him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later on November 2nd of 1786. He also refused medical treatment during those 10 days. Why? He's a doctor. Gunshot wounds in 1786 are a lot different than they are now. He probably tried to bleed out the lead poisoning himself. So, they say, they'll tell you, every ghost tour will tell you, see here how quiet it is. It's always this quiet, by the way, unless that air conditioner is running. Even on a busy Saturday afternoon, this is how creepy quiet it is. It's also one of the most beautiful places we have in all of Charleston, in my opinion. They say listen for the whistles. Cool thing for you, we got enough video cameras and my voice recorder, you don't have to listen to them in live time. However, if you're going to go through this whole alley by yourself, or with your friends and family, well, away from me, because I can't take you all the way through it. I got kicked out of here. And we're going to talk about that next, because that's the fun part of the story. Some of you are like, who the hell did we sign up for? But anyway, keep in mind, if you're going to turn on your voice recorders on your phones and walk through here, every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street throws a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. My garage is right over there. I got to pass the alley to get to my car. So if my daughter's on the tour with us, we race to see who's going to get it first. So it's just a little game we play. She was on the tour last night. I told her, you're taking a break. So she's down here from Myrtle Beach. So anyway, back to how he got kicked out, because that's why everybody's ears perked up. I watched you. So
That's right.
This alley, another little history lesson. This alley didn't go all the way through this way. It was cut off halfway between us and Cumberland Street. Why? Because it was called Cow Alley. This is where they kept the livestock for the city of Charleston. So that means those bricks on that end are older than these ones. Those bricks on the older ones are sun-dried bricks from slave children. So full handprint from a slave child at the end of this alley. And I used to take people all the way through here to get to our next stop, but I'd always point out the handprint. However, I treat that handprint just like I do a grave. That's the last place I'm going to find that kid that made the handprint. All of my teams always want to try to get a reading out of it. November 26th of 2020. My entire team of 10 is wrapped around that brick, waiting for something to happen. I'm trying to shoo them along because of my belief that he's not here. Second thing is, I'm trying to be respectful because it's outside the kitchen window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley, not knowing I was out of bounds. I'm not allowed to take tours down that far. So, I was new at this, was learning my ropes. The new owner came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. And we all moved on. So, we finished the night, but the next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on Thanksgiving because I worked in retail management for over 20 years, mainly for Walmart. You guys get the gist of why I don't work there. I'm like, pumping music and people walking towards us. Like, it's very ominous, is it not?
Pretty ominous.
We're going to actually let these folks pass through because I don't know if the neighbors are referring to. Have you got any numbers on it? Nothing?
No, 1.5.
Yeah, that's natural. Natural from the earth. So you never put it out of that kind. How you know, folks? Funny thing is, you guys get all this audio later on. That's gonna be fun. So, November 28th, the next day after Thanksgiving, I talked to my partner and kind of told him what happened. And he said, "You can't take people down that far. You gotta either go down halfway or reroute the group." So, I did a little bit of research and I decided I'm gonna reroute my group. But what I told them was, I don't believe in the story we're going to next because I've never had anything happen over there, and I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. So they all kind of chuckled, but somebody heard the name Anne on a spirit box before we left. I did not tell them who we were going to be investigating on purpose, because again, I'm not a big believer in the pirate history kind of piece, because again, it's all lore. We're going to be investigating the famous female pirate Anne Bonny. So I got excited already, but then we get down there, I told them what little bit I did know about piracy, not much at the time, and then somebody else heard the number 300. I don't know what that means in real time, so I write it down, I research the next morning for them. We are there November 28th of 2020, Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So what did I do? My shoulders slumped and I went, shit. Now I got to learn about pirates. So, one of those pieces. So, half my library now, I've read more books on debunking pirate lore, and again, be grateful I have a master's degree in creative writing where I can piece all this together for you to make a factual investigation. That was part of the reason why I didn't want to do it to begin with, because again, it's a lot of lore. It's not factual. So what I did was everything we're going to be discussing at the next location, minimum of 2 resources of where I got my information from. So again, half my library, my books at home. Even if you guys find something weird, I'm still flipping through books and going through websites and trying to make sure like it's legit stuff. I always make sure whatever I give you came from 2 resources, especially with pirate lore. So, have we heard anything, seen anything before we get started on the next location? Because again, we're going to get bleed over from here into the next space, so expect things from Dr. Ladd. And again, it's another popular area, so we're going to stay out of everybody's way. Again, I take us to the back. You're going to see. Oh, but before we leave, you guys, there's a reason why I stop at the gate. And it's always to my back, so I always forget. But remember that the alley didn't always go all the way through this way? This was the shortcut in case there was a loser to the duel to get to the cemetery on the other side of the wall. Otherwise, they'd have to go all the way down with a dead body and wrap around to get over to the cemetery. So that's why the archway's there, but the iron rods are basically early 1900s. So just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, let's go learn about some crazy pirates and let's go see if we can capture over there. You guys ready? Yeah. Those of you with video cameras, if you want to continue, just don't point them at the other tours. I'm good. And just like, yeah, whatever.
All right.
Easy stuff.
That's right.
So, Ryan, you getting the gist of this? You got to know your ghost, man. Like, you got to know exactly how to handle them. You got to know about their history. Little intricate details are what matter. That's what matters to them. Sort of. So, that's why I did that. So you actually do it recordings. Again, you don't make the slowest speed. The slowest speed is the easiest way to learn how to start listening. And then you start to work your way up.
Here's where we park. That's our parking garage. That's where we park. Here at the Powder Magazine, over there with the white with the cross looking things on it. St. Philip's Church. Tour or even some of the shows and events that other TV shows put on and stuff like that. They're not going to give you this much detail, nor are they going to allow you to do what you're doing. So this is your night. You know what I mean? Do what you want. I want you guys to find shit. You guys aren't here collecting things for me. What do you got going on with that word list?
Well, do you happen to know the name of the actress that they were arguing about?
I don't, and I dove into that several times. What do you got?
Sarah kept popping up on
Interesting. Where did Sarah come from? On your list or from Haley?
my list.
Your list. Came up twice, or did it just stay
Well, Sarah stayed there for a while, and then the word dead came up.
Word dead. Because somebody else heard the word dead too.
It was Sarah, Foot, and then dead, and then dig, and then field, when you were talking about the cemetery. It's dragging people through that.
Well, that's a courtyard that they have to go over to get to the cemetery, so I don't know what it looked like back then. It's possible it would have been like a little field. I don't know, but it's a courtyard now. Anybody else got anything weird going on with their stuff?
200, Psycho.
Psycho's good. We're talking piracy.
Yeah.
Your pocket is cracking me up because it keeps like drawing my attention. Just like, you got like a circus going on in your honey pocket with all the blinky lights.
It's funny because I put my phone in my back pocket all the time. The kids are like, "Your back pocket's lighting up," and my flashlight.
It's okay.
Will be
We're
on.
all gonna see it on the camera that Angela's using. So yeah, because every time one of your guys' phone goes off, we see it. So
I just got a number. I haven't gotten a number all night.
8.
Yeah.
You're a paramedic.
Remind me to write that one down.
because it's still a medical term. We're talking about a doctor. I don't know that paramedic would have been a term in the late 1700s, but definitely something to look into. See where I'm going with, like, it might be a stretch, but yeah, number 8, and then we have 30. So I almost look at that as like August 30th. You guys see where I'm going with that? So again, I'm always looking at the outside the box.
It's my birthday.
Is it really?
Yeah. August 30th.
Interesting. So, I don't know. I'm going to dive in. But I like it. I like when you guys give me extra shit to do. Brandon's like, good, because I got nothing going on over here.
I was only
Poor guy.
expecting words, so I was just, it was...
Kind of a surprise?
Yeah.
It also could be part of Anne's birthday. I want to say March 8th. Somebody had the word March, but I think that was back in
March earlier.
March
Yeah.
because that was way back at the Pinckney Mansion. And Anne is said to be seen all over town. The interesting thing about the space of where we're at, this is a hit or miss, guys. Like, we're either going to find a lot or nothing. So again, we've already gotten a couple of like the Edward Teach things that I told you about in the number 8. So we might have something going on yet, but the worst case scenario is you learned a whole bunch of stuff about pirates you didn't know about before, because this is a crazy story. You guys ready for this? So we're going to be discussing, first off, the little tiny building up in the front. That's why we're here. Those are not crosses on that building. Those are earthquake bolts. If you don't know what earthquake bolts are, they're basically turnbuckles. So some of you are nodding your heads because you've been on another tour. The reason I bring these up is because, well, for those of you that don't know, if we have another earthquake, you can tighten those turnbuckles, and it's supposed to tighten up the building so it doesn't incur any further damage. Like, that's the whole point of that. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. So Californians laugh their asses off at me whenever I tell them this part of the story. But I bring it up because those are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in. Why? That's the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. This is what I call a familiar. You guys all watch the TV shows where they pulled out the teddy bear to attract the child ghost? Yeah, same principle. This is a familiar thing to Anne Bonny because she was coming here at the same time it was being constructed. So let's kind of get into it. Right in the middle of the building's construction, which, by the way, this small building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? No, not at all. I'll answer for you. But 1708, let's venture back to Ireland. A young lady moves here from Ireland named Anne Cormac. She comes here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Is everybody with me so far? There's a couple of weird twists that I slowed down on with this one. You guys got that? Perfect. So there was like no head nods or anything. It was just blank stares. Like, wait a minute. The three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. You guys got that? How pissed off was she? So gentlemen here with your ladies, be kind to them. They'll kick you out of the country. So they land in Georgetown. That's just north of here, between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad bought a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. So that means he's sending young Anne down here to sell anything from the plantation and keep things afloat. Hence the familiar building. So that's why we're here. Now, go back to Ireland for just a second. They say Anne was a badass even back then. At the age of 7, 8, 9 years old, remember pirate lore, they say she killed a servant with a knife to the belly. We have had the terms servant, knife, and belly all show up in the same evening at this location. So, fast forward, the building's done in 13. By 1715, pirates are coming through town. Anne is stoked. Why? She wants to fall in love so she can earn her freedom, just like a man. So, first guy she falls in love with, yes, I said first, because there's a handful, and we're going to go through them all. That's the whole point of her story. First guy is James Bonny. You already see where this one's going because we've already mentioned her pirate name. Dad didn't approve. He's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica. They get married, and Cormac is now Anne Bonny. However, James Bonny, her new husband, is not Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer, which means he's a spy for the British. He's a coward. This is not who she wants. She wanted a swashbuckling pirate. Next guy, John Rackham, guy number 2. John Rackham is actually known as Calico Jack. This is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character off of, just so everybody knows who this guy is. I usually see a lot of eyes and ears perk up when I say that. So, this is the guy she's been hoping to fall in love with, and he has his own ship. She wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on a pirate crew. Does anybody know why? A bunch of men.
They'll all want her.
Thank God there's no children in here tonight. It's bad luck, everybody.
It's bad luck to have a girl on a
Exactly. It's just bad luck, plain and simple. Some of you guys overthink it.
Yeah.
The gentleman overthought it, so
That's
of
right.
all people. It's usually the ladies going, there's too many guys! But anyway, it's bad luck. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like the crew, you can be part of it. However, you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this. Why? Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her from his wife. She gets it. So, let's put 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl.
I did hear pregnant earlier.
We had it last night too, so bingo on you.
Yeah.
Right on the nose. So, he drops her off in Cuba before she starts the show. Have the baby over here, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. No amount of my research has been able to find it. However, the part of the story that's interesting is she comes back dressed as a female. This makes Jack pretty angry, because now everybody's going to know he let a girl on the crew. They're probably going to vote him off the ship. And while she was away giving birth to his first child, he captured another pirate crew. They're down below deck. She's going to go flirting, because that's who Anne is. We're on guy number 3, in case you lost count. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack captured. Yeah. So, now we have Mary Reed. This young lady went by Mark Reed, so that way she could become a pirate. We actually had the name Mark show up here last night. I was pretty excited about that. However, her and Mary became friends, possibly lovers. We're not going to really know for sure, but the British find out where they are. They send an entire fleet of ships to take down one measly pirate ship. Anne and Mary, rumored, are the only ones not drunk enough to come up and fight with 1-bullet flintlocks. Obviously, 2 ladies with 1-bullet guns are not going to take on a whole fleet of ships with cannons, right? So they get arrested. And as they're being arrested, she looks at her beau, Calico Jack, and she says, "Jack, I'm sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up here a lot, just so you know. I've even had people hear dogs barking on a spirit box as we're walking into the space, on a spirit box. So weird. But anyway, the judge wants to see the 2 quote-unquote men that fought back so valiantly on their own. Jack and the drunk pirates are dead and gone. He's already tried and hung them, so forget them. The 2 ladies go in front of the judge. He doesn't give a shit that they're female, because they did reveal their gender, hoping to save themselves. He's still going to hang them, because they're pirates. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they screamed out, because you cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. He delays the hanging, back to jail. Dad's still up here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4. We're going to count Mary. We don't really know. And as far as that goes, she had 4 kids and died at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt, because we don't know much about her after her pirate career. Mary Reed dies a few months later in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a jail. Most books would tell you that it was something very simple, like fever. I'm going to say, let's make it romantic and call it scurvy. Why the hell not? We're talking pirates. So, the only 2 things I left out of here are the names of Anne Bonny's parents. So you can ask what those names are. We get those often. The name of Jack's ship is another question. You can ask the city of where Anne came from in Ireland, and the color of her hair. We get that often in here too. There's like about 15 stories in this whole corner. So you're going to see a lot of tourists coming through here. Again, cameras, watch where you're pointing, and let them go. We only have 2 vehicles in here, which is pretty awesome. EMF detection. I'm excited on the back half. The closer you get to that half, we have 2 electrical poles and parking meters on the other side. So again, I don't get excited about, like 8s and 9s over there. I'm excited about them back here. Let's see. So with yours, Logan, we've gotten the word red that showed up here specifically. Nice short little 3-letter word. We've also had Anne Bonny's initials, which is AB. So again, just pay close attention to what actually comes up here. So definitely get a fresh start on yours. Anything heard or seen on your devices before we spread out? Okay.
Nope.
Wow.
Oh, wait. I just got a name.
What'd
A
you
boy's name.
What is it?
William.
Oh, there's your father.
Huh.
That's the father's name. Very cool.
Wow.
What's weird is normally both parents will come up together. So we'll see if you get the next one. It's normally heard from, it'll say, like Haley would come up to me and say, "Are their names William and so-and-so?" I'm not going to give it to you yet. And I would say, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, somebody on the radio just said that." So it normally comes up in one phrase. So that's definite proof. You have to look at the whole scope of things. So, all right, guys, let's spread out. Let's do this. Let's have some fun. Talk pirates.
Alrighty.
Arr.
I knew it was coming from somebody.
Yep, somebody had to do it.
Angela, have you gotten a chance to listen to his spirit talk at all?
I did.
What do you think? Too much?
That was pretty cool. I don't think he was listening to the right stuff at the beginning, and then we started hearing a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Have you seen anything?
Not really.
Oh, imagine.
Nothing out of the no anomalies. Nothing that I've noticed. He might have to analyze it. Say, oh yeah, if you see.
For the weekend, I don't want to know.
If He's still stuck on the dad's name.
William.
I asked her what color her hair was. What town in Ireland she came from.
What town did you come from?
What her mom did.
I heard Dad.
You heard Dad?
Yeah.
Well, what his name is right here.
No, but like I heard it when I walked over there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Probably the same.
Into the corner.
Clinging tail. I heard clinging tail.
Clinging to?
Yeah.
Logan, anything? So yours isn't the most exciting. When it does happen, it is a holy cow.
Yep. Nothing yet.
Okay. Neil, anything crazy on yours?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
Well, again, just like I told Angela, it's not always a real-time moment. So the
Yeah.
smaller cameras, you know, yours and hers, like I don't always follow up in real time because I want to watch it
Yeah.
the next day.
Exactly.
Haley,
Hi.
what do you have?
You hear something?
I heard cling to, or like clinging to.
Clinging to.
Clinging
Interesting.
to.
Can I take a look at your word list?
Yeah.
Let me see what we got. I like farmers. We fight. I
I
like
heard
that.
dollars a month.
Gonna get a lot of money things.
Yeah, I just thought like dollars.
Dollars, huh?
Oh, you're telling that you heard white? I asked what color was your
Oh.
hair, and
Oh, yeah,
she
I
heard
heard
white.
white.
But then I specifically asked what color was your hair when you were young.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say go younger than that. It may have turned white. I don't know. There's no information about her afterwards.
Yep.
1929. Nurse and sister.
Interesting.
Ooh. It's a little far off from where we are, but it might be like something I don't even talk about.
1929 just seemed like a weird to be on the radio.
Random date. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
There-
when she was hearing dollars, you were hearing 1929.
I heard 200, 300 bucks and must be the money.
Yeah, so I told you there's a lot of money terms going on right now.
Yeah.
So you're 1929 and the nurse and
Nurse
sister.
and then
So
Robert.
there's a restaurant nearby called Food and Porch.
Uh-huh.
And the story behind that is that there was a school teacher that lived there with her sister.
Uh-huh.
I don't know the years, but we did hear the word teach, and I don't know what the sister did as an occupation. So so again, we have a few things where I might be able to like, okay, maybe it is
Maybe it
Edward
is,
Teach.
yeah.
So again,
It's interesting.
what do you got?
5500 Abbey Country.
Wait, don't potatoes come from Ireland?
Potatoes do come from Ireland.
Oh, see, I did a
got
research
potato.
thing about
Nice. I don't know that they had a potato farm back home. That's possible.
it. I did a research
You got anything
thing
coming out of
about
yours?
Ireland
I heard red
last year.
There's the hair color.
and I heard the word rose.
Ooh. Yes, that's bleed over from Dr. I'll explain. That's a good one. So when we capture that, what's weird is that's not always found, but when we do find it, it's always relevant and in this location. So very fun stuff. What else we got going on? I love how you guys just kind of like congregated. This is cool.
There's some chat going on. I'm like, I better go. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like I leave you all hanging. We're going to talk about these results before we go. So I'm excited about red. I'm excited like you gave me something new. So I'm not really sure if that's going to tie in or not. And if it doesn't, it'll just be in your notes with no extra parentheses. This is why that came up.
Yeah.
But there's a story that she's picking up on that's like 2 blocks from here. So it's relatively close, but not close enough where I'm like, ooh, hoorah. Unless, of course, I find out the very specific things and see how she migrated. So it's very interesting. Let me know if you get the name Zoe that shows up on yours. And be mindful there's another dog walking by.
Donkey's name.
Yeah.
That's our dog's name.
That's our dog's name. Zoe.
But it's the story of Zoe Saint Amand. So if those years match up, like I might actually shit a brick when you guys aren't looking. That's a good, like very specific. And if the sister was a nurse, because she heard nursing her sister in the year 1929. So again, Zoe lived at this house with her sister. I just don't know the years. So again, it's very specific. But again, I mean, you guys have a lot of good numbers. So like 50, 55. I don't know who the hell Abby is. Maybe that's the last name from the Dave. Who had Dave that came up? Somebody heard the name Dave?
I did.
Oh, Dave?
Yeah.
So the name David keeps showing up over here. I don't know who the hell this guy is. He keeps showing up. And it's not like it's showing up on the word list and it's like a time thing. It's just they keep coming up out of random spirit boxes, different ones. I guess you guys are like ready for answers, like unless you want to spread out for another few minutes and see what we got. Like I'm more interested about Rose. Like that's probably the best piece we have so far. This is like, wait a minute, let me get back to work. Yeah, let's give this another minute or two because you have a few things. But yeah, before we gather around, I usually go take us to that wall, but looks like the hottest cornered in. We'll go back to the back of the wall.
Where I heard
Rose?
and red several, like
The
several
wall.
times I heard red.
Interesting. So who's got the EMF detectors? I would say head up to that corner.
You mentioned that building, so I specifically.
So now we're all going to head to that.
corner over
That's an old building there too. Just the age of the brick. You can see that where a roof line used to be up there. There's the old powder magazine. So it took
I
him.
got gifted.
This is all I hear.
I just got comfort.
Drunk.
Drunk?
Drunk.
And the church's steeple. The full moon's almost above it.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Let's get up and go back. That makes it cemetery record. Sure. All right, those of you with cameras, go ahead and give them a break. Go ahead and throw that blindfold up.
All right. So I just shout out anything I hear?
Anything, don't shout. Once you set your volume to your comfort level, leave it alone. Because I don't want to know that you turned it down and you heard what we were asking, kind of thing. You're getting my point, right? No cheating. So let's go ahead and blindfold up. Get to a comfort level. And it is 11:14. So we're going to give him about 30 seconds to a minute, unless he starts repeating words. take him home, by the way. He's awesome.
Yeah, he hasn't barked at all.
No.
If you're looking for Henry Timrod,
Unlike our
you are
dogs.
asking to communicate with Mr. Timrod.
Maybe
Henry, you know how this works, but I want you to start with the same question I start with every night, is tell us what your job is.
Ship.
Tell us what your job is, Mr. Timrod.
Testing.
I am testing the waters.
628.
Henry, I want to know what your job is, please. Let's go very specific. If you don't want to tell us what your job was, maybe tell us something specific about you so we know which topic to go into.
Early.
You want to talk about the war that was early on in your life? Henry? Give us something to work with here. Henry, I'm going to go into something very specific. I want you to tell me more about your son. Maybe you can give us.
1,000.
Maybe you can give us what your son's name was. And it was a very tragic death. You and your wife in mourning. What can you tell us about your son? And also keep an eye on these people's breathing. Sometimes things get a little ramped up for them. So if they start getting to that point where they're almost hyperventilating, we have to tap them out. Just so you guys know. He's doing great, by the way, so I just want to let you know. Notice he's also not talking as I'm talking to the group. So it's like a full conversation.
Ocean.
Henry, let's go back to your son. Tell us anything about your son. We know his birthday. We know his name. We know how old he was. Maybe tell us something else specific about him. About 4 minutes so far, just so you guys know. Henry, are there other spirits here with you? If so, tell us how many. There's somebody else besides us watching. This is Ryan. Can you tell us what type of animal we have around us?
Receive.
What type of animal do we have with us tonight? Mr. Timrod, we would like to know that you're here. You haven't given us anything yet. What do you want to tell us? I know you were married. And you wrote poetry about your wife. Notice the difference for those of you that have seen like the YouTube videos, like the process that I'm using. I'm just continuing to talk and I'm stirring things up. YouTube videos are always looking for that scare factor kind of thing and just shouting out random deathly words to make it scary. This is really about knowing your ghost. This guy's a shy, timid person. Short in nature, very distinctive mustache. Like he wasn't known to be very social. So again, it takes a few minutes. So Henry, I've been reading more of your work. Very good. We've talked about this before. I'd like to hear what your job was. Rocking a little bit, just so you guys know. Henry, I'm going to shut this down in about a minute or two. So you got to give us something. If you're here, I've asked you a lot of questions. You can answer any one of them. Particularly the animal that is adorable right now, if you can see it.
25.
He was 38 when he passed away, for those of you who know the history. Okay, Henry, I'm going to call this unsuccessful tonight. But you know I'm going to be back tomorrow, and I'm going to try again. So, Angela, we're going to tap him out in 3, 2, 1. So first off, how do you feel?
Good?
Does it feel like you were under about 8, 9 minutes?
No.
What did it feel like?
Like 3.
Told you. Always feels that way. So you didn't give us anything specific, so I'm going to count this as unsuccessful. However, we have the recording, and it will be separated in your data, and we're going to talk about that. So for the two of you that don't know the history, we had a writer that basically had tuberculosis on Civil War, and he coughed up blood as his last breath on the page that he was working on. So we call it the Blood Book, and it's held at the Charleston Library Society. The blood stain looks like a man writing. Like it's a very creepy, dark, bloody story. So again, we don't know a whole lot about it because I haven't been getting much more than those very specific details. So you did give me the number 25, and you did give us, what was that, 628 at the beginning? Yep. So that sounds to me like a June 28th or even 62 or 28 kind of number. So I'll be looking into that just to see if there's any kind of tie. But again, this is a very unique experiment. So again, it's either really good or it's really bad. I've done a double blind with this with people that are experienced with spirit boxes, and we actually had the word tuberculosis come up when I asked how he died. And the two guys sitting here, when I say double blind, that's two people sitting here not knowing the history and just giving us answers, and the rest of the team knowing what's going on, and we're all like, oh my god, this is crazy. It's like they were having a conversation. Yeah. Like it was craziness. But again, I'm going to count tonight as a dud, but at the point, you got some experience of how to do this. So if you guys missed his questioning at the very top of our night, he actually was asking me how to get started with, just hitting up a couple of places. So that's why I kind of chose him and not the pregnant lady. So kind of keep that in mind of why we did this. So we have gotten some EMF out of James's device in the past, either in one of the grassy knolls. So I am going to have James kind of do a round robin on all of this while I collect the rest of your devices, just to see if he gets any numbers out of this. If somebody wants to go with him, like say with one of the cameras, by all means do so. But yeah, let's do a quick round robin and see if you get some spikes. And we'll kind of wrap this party up, and that way you guys can ask me a million more questions, because again, you guys were very in tune. I love it. So last night was kind of weird because they were all I gave them the digital camera and they're walking around, and as I'm telling history, and I stopped realizing they're not ignoring me, they're working. I told them to go to work.
That's true.
So 4 years of doing this, I started realizing they're not ignoring me. And again, somebody as a writer with imposter syndrome all the time, you wonder when you get something started like this, is it going to work? But all they care about is the camera, and they're walking around looking for ghosts.